More than 100 physicians send a letter to 12 area districts imploring them to adopt universal masking. I'm Chris Warner. We'll break down the letter and hear from two of those doctors on what they're hoping to achieve.
We also hear from some of the school districts addressed in that letter. I'm Zach Dodge with what they have to say.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
More than 100 physicians sign a letter addressed to 12 area school districts seeking a policy for universal masking. This is KOAM News at 6. We have team coverage tonight on the letter itself and reaction from those districts. We begin with KOAM's Chris Warner with more on the letter.
The letter is only 3 pages long. It was sent to 12 local districts in the hopes that the 12 local school boards would adopt universal masking policies.
There's a area group of physicians where we collaborate online, and Joplin schools came out with a policy this week kind of stating what their plan was as far as mask mandates and quarantine, and so we had some major concerns with that, and that's why we felt it pertinent to come out with a statement of our own.
Dr. Justin Wilberding with Freeman says the biggest issue with the policy is the quarantine guidelines outlined in Joplin's policy.
The current CDC recommendations and the Department of Health state that if you've had known exposure with somebody, that the recommendation is to quarantine for 10 days. The Joplin policy kind of goes against that, stating that if you've had direct contact, whether you be a teacher or a student, that you do not need to quarantine, but instead you can come back to school if you wear a mask for 10 days or for 5 days if you get a known test that's negative.
The letter provides different stats and facts regarding COVID-19, the Delta variant, the fact it's very contagious, and that it does seem to be impacting younger kids. Dr. Samir Dalia at Mercy says he hopes the combined efforts of local physicians will have an impact.
I think one of the biggest strengths of this letter is that this isn't, coming from one single hospital system. We have community physicians who aren't affiliated with Freeman or Mercy. We have Freeman doctors, we have Mercy doctors who have all stepped up and said, hey, this is important for our area.
Dr. Dalia says they're not here to dictate policy, but instead to collaborate with the districts.
We aren't here to just say, hey, this is what we're recommending to school boards. We really want to work with the school boards, and we hope that the school boards take us up on our offer. And we want to sit with them and help them kind of decide what's going to be best.
Now, the letter commends the Joplin area Catholic schools for already having a mask mandate in place and implores the 11 other districts to do the same. I'm Chris Warner for KOAM News.
Chris, thanks. Now, we also reached out to the school districts addressed in the letter. KOAM's Zach Dodge joins us live from Carthage with what they said.
A vast majority of the public school districts we heard back from are making masks voluntary, at least at the beginning of the school year. But that doesn't mean that mandates are out of the question later on in the year.
And just trying to get a feel for where our team members were at, and then where our community was at, was they felt they should be an option, not mandated.
While that may be the case, Neosho Superintendent Jim Cummins explains they discussed return to school plans with the health department. And if 7% of the student body in a school tests positive, then mask mandates will be put in place.
We will move forward with that at the present time.
Several of the other districts addressed in the letter will also move forward with their current plans. And according to the East Newton School District, the district is set to vote on their return to school policy tomorrow. So the letter will be presented to the school board during that meeting. In Galena, Kansas, the superintendent says this is their 5th day of school and that they have not seen any evidence of COVID spread inside the school so far. He also explains they received the letter at 7:30 this morning, while districts like Carl Junction got it late last night. CJ Superintendent Dr. Cook says in response to the letter, quote, he does not like how this situation was handled, end quote. District PIO Tracy Skaggs says she received it last night and saw it by chance. She also says they want everyone to mask and, quote, be responsible bulldogs, end quote. And in Joplin, school board member Jeff Koch says, quote, masking is just one piece of the prevention strategy. Sometimes the straw argument is that if you aren't masking, you aren't doing anything. But we are doing a lot, end quote. Koch says he doesn't feel like the board needs to discuss the policy at their next board meeting.
We will continue to monitor how we are impacted here in Neosho and adjust accordingly.
Here in Carthage, Superintendent Mark Baker says that he appreciates the information in the letter and that it mirrors information they received last week from representatives with Mercy Carthage. He also says that they will continue to monitor the situation and make adjustments throughout the school year as needed to keep students, staff, and the community safe. Reporting live in Carthage, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Zach, thanks. Brings us to today's KOAM News Now Instapoll question. We're asking, should schools implement a universal masking policy? You can participate in the poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or through the KOAM News Now mobile app. Results are updated live, and we're going to check in on them here in a bit. U.S. health officials have announced plans to deliver COVID-19 booster shots to all Americans. The plan calls for booster doses 8 months after people get their second dose of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. The announcement comes in response to CDC data that shows waning immunity for initial shots. Newton County's health director says he's heard from a number of four-staters already interested in boosters.
So we've had quite a bit of interest from the local community here in Newton County to have us tell them when they can start getting either that third dose for immunocompromised or the booster shot for the general public. So I appreciate the public's interest.
The booster doses could begin the week of September 20th. Nick Kelly, like yesterday, some of us got rain today.
And for those that did, Dow, keeping us just away from 90-degree heat before it really comes roaring back, especially once we get into this weekend. In the meantime, though, the only area of rain I see on the board that's really prevalent is all across central parts of Barton County. Still, maybe a couple other tiny little showers elsewhere, but it's activity I'll keep an eye on as we go through the rest of the evening. Otherwise, partly sunny skies across the region, but our rain chances today still fueled by the same upper level low. Even though it's north of St. Louis now, it's going to try and keep some rain chances going as we get into the rest of this evening. As far as temperatures go, if you're under the clouds and any rain, you're in the upper 70s and near 80. Everybody else is sitting in the mid 80s right now, but eventually everybody will drop out of the 80s, fall through the 70s with a little low in our rain chances late this evening. There we go. And then dropping back to 71. A few more days of rain chances down before the heat really kicks into gear. We'll break down the forecast here in a bit.
See you then. Still ahead, Missouri Southern gives new and returning students a chance to see what the community has to offer at Community Day. And later, the Carl Junction Bulldogs are just 9 days away from their season opener. We're going to check in on the team in sports. Katy Days in Parsons, Kansas is canceled. The event organizers cite the spread of the Delta variant as the reason behind the cancellation. In a statement, organizers say they had hoped to be back this year, but instead they'll be back in, quote, full force in May of 2022. Students and businesses connected today on Missouri Southern's campus. It was the annual Community Day. 140 businesses showed up to talk to students about what they offer, also job opportunities. It offers students a chance to connect with each other in a safe environment.
We're really happy to be able to have Community Day this year in a safe manner. A lot of excitement on campus right now with students coming back for face-to-face instruction, and there's a great vibe, and this is just part of it.
MSSU has hosted Community Days for the past 15 years. Later, the Carl Junction Bulldogs look to keep the momentum going from last season as they prepare for the upcoming season, which is just 9 days away. We're going to hear from the team in sports.
But first, we were warm overall thanks to clouds and rain chances, but when is the heat going to return? We'll have that answer next. Another day with scattered rain and thunderstorms out and about, but thanks to those storms, there was another day where temperatures mainly stayed on the warm side of things. We pushed into the upper 80s to near 90 yesterday at Joplin Regional. They barely touched 90 before we hit the tail end of the afternoon. But after we dropped to about 67 this morning, so far the warmest I've seen was about 85 to 87 degrees in Joplin. Then we saw those dips in the temperatures over the past couple of hours because of good rounds of rain that worked over not just the city of Joplin, but over the airport as well, where our temperature for Joplin is usually observed. We had a pretty quiet start this morning, thankfully. Then we saw, like the past couple days, stop if you've heard this before, another afternoon scattering of showers and thunderstorms. Nothing too strong though, but the strongest, if you want to go that route, of the rain averaged out just about 1/10 of an inch so far across the region. But where you definitely saw the rain come on down, another day where you had another 1/2 inch, maybe 1.5 inches as these thunderstorms tried to hold on as we continue into the rest of the evening. We definitely have seen a bit of a decrease in the activity since we checked on the radar during our 5 o'clock show. In fact, the only impressive shower, if I can say it correctly, on the board is out in central parts of Barton County, west of 49 from Lamar East. So really sandwiched between 43 and 49 in central parts of Barton County. And you can see how as these storms fired up, they looked impressive at first, but since we don't have a good upper level setup to keep these updrafts going, they grow tall, they rain themselves out, and that is why they completely fade away. So I expect that to be the trend for the rest of the evening, and I think we should see overall a dry night ahead of us. We do it all over again tomorrow. 80 with dry weather in Joplin right now. Dew point's kind of up there though at 73. So that means under the clouds and the rain, you're seeing upper 70s to lower 80s. Everybody else is in the mid 80s, but with the humidity, it feels anywhere like the mid 80s to about 90 degrees outside. But eventually everyone will fall through the 80s, down into the 70s, and ultimately dropping to 71 for tomorrow morning. But we're not quite done with the setup just yet. While we'll take the rain chances while they're here, they're not really being fueled by anything at the surface. I am watching our next front that will still come into play as we get the weekend underway. But upstairs, even though our upper low is north of St. Louis, this is what's driving our rain chances today, this evening, and we'll try to do the same again as we go into tomorrow. But again, a bit of a break in the action with partly cloudy skies overnight as lows drop back to 71. Then I expect with more moisture, believe it or not, a better scattering of thunderstorms during the afternoon and into Thursday evenings. But like the past several days, not expecting anything severe, thankfully. 71 in the morning, 84 by noon, afternoon highs right around 88 degrees. So with the rain chances tomorrow and additional scattered storms for Friday, don't know why the rain tracker disappeared, but the heaviest pockets of rain could bring another 1/2 inch to 1.5 inches before we see a bigger change come by the weekend. Even though the upper level ridge starts to build back in, there will be a front part to the north to try to give us some rain chances through the weekend. Overall, though, it's all about that upper level ridge. That is more than ready to bring the pure summer heat and humidity back into play. 88 tomorrow, 89 Friday, lower 90 Saturday and Sunday with maybe some scattered rain chances during the morning hours. I think Saturday and Sunday afternoon look dry, but once we hit early next week, Dow, the heat is on, mid-90s. Monday through Wednesday.
Well, we're enjoying this relatively cooler weather while it's here anyway.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks, Nick. Coming up in sports, a young Carl Junction team prepares for next week's season opener. Plus, the Fort Scott Tigers aim to repeat as SEK champions this fall. We're going to go live to Fort Scott to hear from the team next.
The Fort Scott Tigers are in the middle of their first week of fall football practice. Now, the Tigers had a big bounce back year in 2020. Our own Danny Terzer is in Fort Scott and has more on how the Tigers plan to do it all again this fall.
That's right, Jacob. The Tigers are coming off a 7-1 season and an SEK title. They did lose a bunch of seniors, but those seniors helped to set the precedent of what Fort Scott football can be. So now it's time for these guys to step up and build on that success.
We're just trying to establish having a good program with consistency, guys showing up, guys working hard, and when you do those things and have a little luck on the way, you end up having a consistent program that gets to a winning situation. We want to win a league title and compete for a state title. As long as I'm here, those things won't change.
Coach says it all starts with the offensive and defensive lines. They are returning a few starters on that O-line, so they'll be looking for them to set the tone. We'll have our full season preview on the Fort Scott Tigers right here at 10. Jacob?
Well, it's hard to make it to the top, even harder to stay there when everybody's coming for you. Danny Terzer, live in Fort Scott. Danny, thank you. On the Missouri side, the Carl Junction Bulldogs are just 9 days away from their season opener. Now, CJ lost some talented guys to graduation, and they're pretty young, but they're ready for the challenge of competing in the COC this fall. The Carl Junction Bulldogs will have plenty of new faces on the field this year.
We got a lot of young guys, so a lot of room to improve, but we have a lot of speed and, just kids that actually want to play, like younger kids that want to be better.
So far, those younger guys are up to the challenge.
I think there's a lot of kids that we didn't really expect to be, components of our offense and defense this year that have really stepped up and taken the role that the guys that graduated last year left for us. So I think that's been really cool to see.
We're really trying to be the toughest team out here. We're small, but we're quick, and we're really emphasizing on the toughness side of it.
We have some pretty decent players. We're just young overall and inexperienced with some older kids, but we do have some talented kids.
Carl Junction loses some big contributors to graduation, including quarterback Alex Baker. Senior Kyler Perry will be under center for the team to start the year.
I think it'll be a totally different style of offense. Kyler really offers a lot of things. He can run, he can throw, he can do everything. He's a smart guy.
Kyler is a dual threat quarterback. He has a tremendous arm. He has a big time arm. And he's also capable of running the football. And we just got to kind of rein him in every once in a while. And we don't want to get too much street ball stuff going on out there. But Kyler's a gamer, and I expect him to play well, and I expect him to make plays.
As the smallest school in the COC, the Bulldogs know the challenge ahead, but they're excited to get started.
The competition we play week in and week out is there's not any better out there than what we see every Friday night. So it is a challenge, and it's, I'd like to have those numbers, but we don't right now. And but I promise that our kids they'll practice hard every day, and they'll compete, and we'll go out and be a tough out for everyone.
The Carl Junction season opener will be next Friday, the 27th, at home against the Willard Tigers. And that's it for sports. We're back with more news right after the break.
We take time now to honor a local veteran of the Korean and Vietnam Wars. Chief Jim Maples served in the U.S. Navy. His hometown, Alba, Missouri, and we are proud to salute Chief Jim Maples. He's tonight's four-state hero. You can learn about lots of other heroes. They're from all across this area. They're from various eras in our history. Some of them are currently serving. You can also submit a hero of your own anytime. You just go to our website. It's KOAMnewsnow.com. Jordan Abbey joins us now with a look at what's coming up tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
Tonight at 9, going to hear from some veterans reacting to the events unfolding in Afghanistan. Also, 4 days after the earthquake, Haitians are growing more frustrated and desperate. Also, a growing trend in fashion, buying clothing you can't even wear in real life. We'll explain how this works. That, of course, much more coming your way tonight. KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14.
All right, now today's KOAM News Now Insta poll question. We've been asking, should schools implement a universal masking policy? As you can see right now, the majority, by quite a large margin, say yes. You can participate in the poll at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote or through the KOAM News Now mobile app. Results are updated live, and we're going to check in on the final results tonight at 10. Some of us were glad to get some rain today, those of us who were fortunate enough to get some.
Yeah, for those that still haven't today, we've got a few more days worth of rain chances before they start to taper off through the weekend. Let's go 88 tomorrow, 89 Friday, but as we start to taper off on the rain chances through the rest of the weekend, that's when the heat kicks back into gear. Lower 90s Saturday and Sunday and mid 90s, sadly, early next week.
Yeah, too bad. Final sports news.
We're going to have more on the Fort Scott Tigers football team tonight at 10. Also, you can check out stuff from your favorite local football team in our pigskin preview, KOAMnewsnow.com/pigskin. Got Missouri high schools, Kansas high schools, Oklahoma, and our junior colleges and universities.
It's all digital this year, and it's a lot of fun to go through. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here on KOAM News at 10. Let's make it a great evening.